Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. The day has finally come. Today I'm going to do the post-mortem on this 1989 Riva Jog. Without further ado, let's check out the subject, shall we? I inherited this I use the term inherited loosely. I came into possession of this, and no, it's not hot or anything, about 20 years ago, maybe not quite 20 years ago, and it didn't run. Long story short, I messed with it back then, forgot about it, life moved on, and then a few years ago, decided that, hey, I've got this scooter that's been sitting in storage for ever. Never did get it running right, so I figured I would tackle it again. Had nothing better to do, so I jumped in. What I found out when I started looking at this thing a couple of years ago, after quite a bit of sleuthing and actually replacing the carburetor with like a Chinese knockoff, I figured out it was the intake manifold was cracked and it was causing it to run all funny like, and so I replaced that and the thing ran like a top. It's quick, it's peppy. It would wheelie sometimes at first, but here recently it hasn't been doing that much. And I think some of that probably had to do with the variator maybe being a little stuck, so it would allow the revs to rise and then engage the clutch, and then fun and hilarity would ensue. But alas, it gave up the ghost the other day on the way back from a parts run, and I checked the compression and there doesn't seem to be any. It didn't even really register on my compression gauge. It's not seized up, but there's no compression. So the plan of attack is to remove the engine, get it up on the workbench, more so for the viewing pleasure of the audience. I'm pretty sure I could do the top end, which I suspect is the issue, in the scooter, but you know, for clarity's sake, I'm going to go ahead and take the motor out, get it up on the workbench, and work on it there. It's not much to it. I think all you got to do is remove the shock where it connects to the rear engine case / swing arm. It's all the same thing, and then you've got a bolt on either side here, and then detach the fuel line and the electrical wires, and that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna get cracking on this bad boy, and if you'll notice, it's got a bit of a gangster lean to it, and that's new. And come to find out, the issue is the kickstand is breaking. Let's combine those two and get the right word, shall we? It is broken. You can tell there. These two pieces should be connected and they're not. So while I'm fixing all this other stuff, I'll probably take that kickstand off, take it back to the house, do some welding on it, fix that right up. Yeah, that's all I got for now. Nothing witty to say. I haven't been feeling very witty lately, which is very unfortunate for you guys. I mean, come on, let's face it. There's a gold mine up in here. I just can't access it lately. Almost need someone here to draw it out of me. But for now, it's just my silent partner, you guys. And right now, you look a lot like an old Sony Cybershot. Anyway, let's get to work. Okay, we'll start by removing the airbox. And there's no clamp or anything involved. I think there's supposed to be a spring clip, but I had enough trouble getting the airbox onto the carburetor, so I didn't even bother with that. So I don't look forward to wrestling this thing back on there. Is it even necessary? You know, it's not necessary. But I'm going to try to get away without doing it. So now that we got that problem solved, let's look. We've got a bolt that runs through here, fuel line. It's empty. Strange. There's no way this thing ran out of gas in that short amount of time. So we'll pop the spark plug loose. The plug cap, that is. Let's find where are our electrical wires. We got one for the choke, and another that runs underneath there. Okay, I have reconsidered things. In lieu of pulling the entire engine, I think I'm just going to pull the exhaust and pull the carburetor off this way and just remove the cylinder while the engine's still in the frame. I chose to do this because it's more than simply just removing the shock mount and the engine mount up here. I would also have to undo the wires, which are no big deal, but I would also have to undo the oil pump line that goes down to the oil pump, and I'd probably make a mess. I would also have to undo the rear brake cable, and that's just a lot of extra work that I don't think I really need to do. So I'm going to try it this way, and if it becomes too difficult, or I learn that maybe you do have to remove the engine to remove the cylinder, then we will revisit the issue. But for now, I'm going to take the lazy man's way out. We'll start by removing the exhaust manifold nuts. I should probably use a wrench for this. Judo loosen. Now these are probably going to pull the studs out too. If I recall, at least one of them does. The stud comes out with the nut. It's not designed to do that. They just get seized up after a while. There's one. Stud came out with the nut. Looky there. Same thing on both of them. What do you know? Next we remove the exhaust mounting bolts, and the exhaust should come right off. Voila! One exhaust. Set that over there out of harm's way. Run these bolts back in just a little bit so they're easier to keep up with. Next we tackle the carburetor. Spin me right round, baby. Right round. Like a record. Now one thing I'm curious about is whether or not this oil line has any oil coming out of it. Let's check, shall we? It seems to be on there. The big reveal. There's definitely oil in there. Interesting. Doesn't seem to be a lot. It's not dripping out on my hand, but it did come out of this little brass nipple there. So there was definitely some oil making it to the engine. The oil line pulled out of the way for now. Tuck it down here, pointing downwards so that it doesn't collect any debris. Now I've got two options to loosen this clamp. I can use a Phillips head screwdriver, or I can use a 10mm socket. Okay, remove the two screws holding the airbox on. Some monkey tightened those. It was me. The carburetor should. Crapola. That's what I was trying to avoid. Oh well. Alright, there's the carburetor. Loosey-goosey. Now that should be a matter of just removing these four nuts and pulling the cylinder off. Go ahead and remove the spark plug. It was only finger tight. There's what it looks like. Let's see if I can get that to focus in. Not so much. Maybe a little lean. I don't know. It's got some tan in there. Run these screws back in just so they don't get misplaced. 12mm. So I can get this out of the way. It's coil wire. Okay, I'll try it again with a 10mm. It usually helps to use the right size socket. It's very important to use the correct socket so that you don't strip off, round off any fasteners. I'm getting excited. Can't wait to see what the problem was. Slash is. Oh, it's almost time for the big reveal. Can you feel the excitement? I know I can. Uh-oh. See some damage in the cylinder head. A couple of little pits that are clearly fresh. Something came loose. Look here. Appears to be a little speck on top of the piston. Doesn't look good. So let's see what we got. Puppy is on there. Shouldn't be anything else holding the cylinder on. Nailed it. There's my little head gasket. That doesn't look good. Oh man, this thing almost comes off there. What is it catching on? It's letting all kinds of rusty particles down into the crankcase. I'm not cool with that. I think a ring broke, just by judging at first glance. That's what it looks like to me. If you look down here on the piston, you can see right there, something got trapped between the piston and the cylinder. I hope it's not something from the bottom end. But you know what it looks like? It looks like it was the circlip for this side, because I don't see one. Let's check for some play in the crank, shall we? Now I'll have to check for that after the piston's out. Let's inspect the other side and see if there's a circlip over there. I see no circlip. Let's check the other side. If this is a circlip failure, this will be the first one I've ever seen happen to a bike that I've worked on. Yep. There's a circlip on this side. Interesting. No, I didn't have the motor. I mean, it was wide open for, I don't know, a mile or two, but nothing new for these engines. I guess the clip was just fatigued and decided to let go. Weird. So I'll pop this circlip out of there, pull the piston, and see where we're at. Okay, I got the piston off, and it was the circlip. And now I'm going to pull the wrist pin bearing out. I'm sure it's fine, but I want to inspect it anyway. Plenty of oil on everything, so I don't think it was an issue with lack of lubrication. I think simply the circlip let go. First time I've ever had that happen. I think I'm going to shove a rag down in the crankcase, try to blow out some of this junk. It's not any good for it to be in there. Big piece of garbage right there. Plenty of oil down in there. It is raining its buttocks off. Good enough. Now let's check this crankshaft for some free play. What do you say? Let's go lay in the hay down by the bay. It'll be quite a day. I don't detect any up and down play, so that's good. So it's just a matter of getting that old gasket off of there and trying to clean up those studs. So let's shove a new rag on top of there. Such a tiny hole. Not easy to do. Not a lot of room to work in there between the studs. I think that's good enough. Alright, so I'm going to clean those studs up a little bit and remove the bottom of the base gasket. I'll probably just use a wire brush or maybe some steel wool on these studs. They don't have to be perfect. They just need to be better than they are right now. And here's a piece of steel wool. I'll probably put some anti-seize on these studs before I install the new cylinder. That way, even though there is a little bit of rust and corrosion, it shouldn't stick. Try to get my talons underneath the old gasket. If I'm lucky, I can pull it all up as one. Looky there, making some progress. Just got my fingernail under the edge, trying to work my way around. get it free in between the studs. First of all, if you try to pull up around the stud, it's just going to tear, I would imagine. Good grief. The frog strangler out there. Okay, it's being stubborn in a few spots. It's no problem. I just have to clean it off after I get most of the rest of it off. Okay, I just used my handy dandy razor blade on a stick made in China, and just went around here and got all the little bits of gasket material loosened up. Pretty much most of it I was able to pick off with my fingernail, but a few stubborn pieces I had to use this. That's about it. It's not perfect, but it's definitely good enough. It's really hard to get down in there and actually get it perfect the way it is, with everything in the way. So I'm going to call it good. I went around and blew it off. So now we can turn our attention to the post-mortem of the parts themselves that failed. Doesn't look like there was any lubrication issues. Just a circlip that decided to commit sabui. If you install the circlip with the opening down in this position or point it straight up, that'll tend to retain the circlip better, because once the piston starts moving up and down a lot, there's a lot of forces, and if the circlip is turned this way, what that can do is that can squeeze these ends together just from the inertia of going up and down, and that gap right there can cause one end to pop out just a little bit, and if it pops out just enough, it can snag on a port, which I surmise is what happened here. So there's a little tip for you. Yeah, I'm still going to inspect the crankcase, see if I can see any piece of the ring down in there. It won't be easy to see, but let's give it a go, shall we? So I used my fancy pants inspection mirror, and I don't see any signs of a broken ring in the bottom of the crankcase. So that's a good thing. So I think I'm going to call it a day. I've done about all I can do. I'm a little hungry. I think I'll go home and get something to eat. Thanks for joining me. Please like, comment, or subscribe. I should say and. Subscribing is probably the biggest thing. So subscribe, comment, like. All of the above if you so choose. So I guess I'll order some parts. Even though I know I'm always saying I'm broke. I am. But I've got a little bit of money in my PayPal account. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for stopping by. Peace outside.